today I'm going to be showing us how to take our own measurements. This is very important to know how to do because you might not always have someone to help you take your measurements, and the correct measurements are like the foundation for any dressmaking project. In fact, I think any sewing project at all, you just need to make sure you get the right measurements. Like the saying goes, measure twice and cut once. So these are all the measurements that I usually use for my freehand techniques. You might not need every single one of them, but I'll say get a notepad and a pen and make notes of all of these measurements. Now these measurements are broken into 3 sections. We have the horizontal measurements, which are the measurements that run across the body. We have the vertical measurements, which are measurements that run up and down the body, and then we have others, which will be things like your sleeves and apex and those kind of things. I'll explain everything as I go along, but within the description of this video, there are the list of all the measurements that you need. So if you want to take those down and then follow along, and you will be able to get what I'm doing. So the first group of measurements I'm going to go with are the horizontal measurements. So the first one is the back measurement. So what you're taking is from the corner of your shoulder to the other corner of your shoulder across the back. And do it like so. And then just once you've done that, just relax your shoulders. You want to make sure your shoulders are not up and tense. Relax your shoulders so you get that accurate measurement. And you don't want it arched over your neck like this. You want it going straight across your back like so. For me, that's 60. Then the next one I want to do would be my across front measurement, which is literally from this point here across to the other point. So that's about 1 inch above the part of your arm where it connects with your armpit. So just 1 inch above that crease, and that will be your across front point there. And again, you don't want to distort your body when you're doing this. So I like to take my measurement in front of a mirror. So in doing so, I'm making sure I'm not distorting anything, and that would be my across front measurement right there. Now the next one would be my over bust measurement. So you take the tape and wrap it around the top of your chest like so. And again, relax, because if you're like this, you can see, you lose a few inches. Once you relax, you open up your chest and you've got an accurate measurement there. So the tape is going around like that. Now the next one is my bust measurement. So you want to take your tape and wrap it around the fullest part of your bust, making sure that your tape is running straight around your body, and that would be my bust measurement. Again, making sure I'm relaxed, making sure I've got the tape in the right place. That's my bust measurement. The next one down would be my under bust measurement. I mean, that's quite self-explanatory. Take your tape and wrap it around your under bust section there. Again, I'm doing this in front of the mirror, making sure that everything is perfect. And that will be my under bust measurement. And the next measurement you want to take for your horizontal is your waist measurement. Now your waist, your natural waist, actually, it's quite easy to find actually. If you put your hand on your waist, like so, and bend yourself over to the side, and the part that creases right there, that is your waist measurement. That's your natural waist. So when I talk about waist measurement in my freehand technique, this is what I'm talking about, your natural waist, which is this section right here. That's the smallest part in your torso. And there's my waist measurement right there. Okay. Again, making sure the tape is running straight across, all around, and that's my waist measurement right there. Then the next measurement you want to take is your hip measurement. Now you're going to take your tape and wrap it around the fullest part of your hip. That's just above my thighs there. And what I do is I move this about to make sure that I've actually got the fullest measurement. That's important because when you move around or when you put your clothes on, you want to make sure that you've accommodated for that. So that's what I'm doing right here, making sure it's not too loose, it's not too snug. And that would be my fullest part of my hips. And that's my hip measurement right there. So those are my horizontal measurements all taken. Now, one of these horizontal measurements, which you probably cannot do by yourself, will be your across back measurement. That is the exact same place as the across front would fall, but this time in the back. So you need to get somebody to help you measure from that point straight across to that point there. So that's one of the ones you're going to need somebody to help you with. There's one other measurement throughout all of this that you need someone to help you with, but once you've made note of that, then you've got it down and you never need to do that again. Now the next set of measurements we're going to be doing are the vertical measurements. Now all of these measurements are prefixed with shoulder to, implying that you're taking the measurement from your shoulder down to whatever point it is. You want to think of yourself as looking down on yourself, bird's eye view. Get right to the center of your shoulder there, and you're going to place the head of your tape right there. So make sure it's not going backwards or it's not too forward. It's going to be just on the center there. That's where my shoulder seam is, right? And then I'm going to do shoulder to over bust, so shoulder to across front there, and I'm going to mark that measurement, take that measurement down. Then the next one down will be my shoulder to over bust. Now this can vary compared to where, if for instance you're making a bustier, you can decide where you want your over bust to fall, that next line to fall. But shoulder to my over bust, I'm just marking that around the point where I actually measured, and that would be 7 for me. The next one down will be my shoulder to bust. From that, you're measuring from your shoulder to the highest point of your bust, right? Then shoulder to under bust, again, just trail that tape down, and then you're going to over bust. Now this is where this is where I have a little trick for you, right? So I've got my hand on the bust part there, and I need to get to my shoulder, from my shoulder to my waist. I don't want to do this. I want to actually contour my breast, and I don't want to do this. So contour the breast, have your finger at the shoulder to under bust point, and then get your other hand, because you know, right, this is your shoulder to under bust. So if this falls now, it's okay. Get your hand and take it down to your shoulder to waist, right? And the way I help myself to know where my shoulder to waist is, again, I put my hand on my waist, making sure I've got the right point, and where my finger is on the tape, I know that's where my shoulder to waist is. The next thing down is my shoulder to my hip measurement. So again, I'm judging where the fullest part of my hip is, and that's where I'm going to have my shoulder to hip measurement. Now I'm going to hold my tape right there, right? Because I want to bend forward, and I'm going to get to my shoulder to knee. Now you don't want to bend your knee when you do this. Just go shoulder to knee, like so. Right, so I've got my tape, I've held my tape at my shoulder to hip point, and I'm going shoulder to knee. And that's how I do my vertical measurements. The next set of measurements are going to be the other measurements. So I'm going to start off with measuring for the sleeves. So you want to get for the sleeve length, get the head of your shoulder, put it on the head of your tape, sorry, and place it at the corner of your shoulder. And I just use my hand and hold the tape like so. And then I'll be able to know where my elbow length is. So that will be from this point to the elbow, which is 14 for me. And then where my sleeve length is. So you can now decide how long you want. This could be project specific. You can decide how long you want your sleeve for the specific project. But for my full sleeve, that would be 24.5 for me. Okay. Now, the round sleeve measurement. You take your tape, and then you're just going to wrap it around the fullest part of your arm there. And then rest your sleeve down, rest your arm down, because when we do that, our sleeve tends, or my shoulder, my arm anyway, gets a little bit bigger. So, yeah. So I've made sure I've got my right arm, my right round sleeve measurement. And then again for your elbow, round elbow, you're going to slightly bend your elbow, just very, very slightly, like a natural bend, right? And then you're going to measure, making sure it's not too snug, because the sleeves are very functional pieces of your clothing. It's a very functional part of your clothing. You're going to be moving your arms a lot. You want to make sure that when you move your arm, it's not now choking, you know, or cutting your blood circulation to your arm. So that would be my sleeve. So like that, making sure that when I do that, it's not too snug. Okay? And then around the wrist, depending on obviously your fabric, if it's a stretchy fabric or if you're going to be putting buttons in the wrist. But if you're not, you want to make sure that if it's not a stretchy fabric and you're not putting any buttons in the sleeve, at the wrist of your sleeve, you want to make sure that you can easily get your hands out. That normally falls on 9 for most adults, women adults. So that's for the sleeve. Now one of the other measurements that fall into the other section is your apex. So your apex is literally your highest point of your breast from one side to the other. So essentially your nipple to your nipple. And that's that. Then you want to do your back length. So you take the tape, or this is the one you're going to need someone to help you with. Place the tape right there at the base of your neck, and then you're going to measure down to the deepest point of your back in the center there, and that is your back length. That's the back length. So that's it. That's how you take your measurements correctly. I hope you give this a try. Practice, practice, practice. It's really important to learn how to take your measurements. Even if you're going to learn how to do it for somebody else, or if you're going to get somebody to take it for you, the right measurements are really crucial to getting perfect fitting clothes. So this video, I hope, is useful for you. Give me a comment if you want to see anything else to do with these kind of tips. Comment below and let me know what you want to see.